Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Q&A day. It's Sleep In Saturday. Show's at 8 o'clock. We give you an extra hour to sleep in. It used to be a long time to sleep in because the show used to be at 5 a.m., but we move it around occasionally. We move it around to 6. Sometimes we move it to noon when we're traveling in a weird place. Weird by our standard of time. But anyway, welcome. Today's the day we accept questions from our listeners. People write them in, mail them to Mara at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. And maybe today we're answering your question. Miss Mara, get back on camera. Do we have any announcements today?
Good morning. We do. We're going to LA for Ratha Yatra in the beginning of August, and we just posted that on the Wisdom of the Sages page if people want to join our program there.
Oh, we have a program there
A
Friday
video.
and Saturday, like a little Wisdom of the Sages retreat in Southern California. So it's going to be at Vedic Yoga. That's our good friend Kumi's yoga studio, and she's wonderful, and she's got this great little oasis there. And so if you want to join us for a pre-Ratha Yatra study, kirtan, little bash we're having, please do. Looking forward to see you. And then Ratha Yatra, Sunday Ratha Yatra in LA. And I tell you, LA Ratha Yatra, because it's right down Santa Monica, Dogtown, Venice Beach. It's like so wonderful. And then a big festival in Venice Beach. So if you haven't done it, you should do it. If you've done it, you're probably doing it again. Looking forward to seeing you there. Well, that's what they, that's what they used to call Dogtown. That's where all this, it's the birth of skateboarding in America, in the world. Dogtown, which is southern Santa Monica.
Okay.
Also, we have Bhakti Recovery Group meetings today at 9:30 a.m., 11 and 12:30 Eastern Time.
Yeah.
And tonight we're doing some kirtan and book signing at Jai Yoga in Albany.
Jai Yoga in Albany, come join. It's going to be me, my son Rocco, and Maya. Rocco got good at Mridanga. He's good. He's giving Mridanga lessons now. Anybody wants Mridanga, right? Mara, Wisdom of the Sages 108. And he'll set you up with my 17-year-old son. He's giving Mridanga lessons. But yeah, tonight we're going to chant. And if you're in the area, come by. We're just going to sing. I'll tell some stories. We'll have a book signing. If you have a book, I might have a few books with me. I don't have a lot, but I'm looking forward to seeing you there and support our good friends Meg and Dustin at Jai Yoga Albany. All right. Mr. Kastuba, how are you?
Doing good, Raghunath.
All good in your life?
Yeah.
Keeping it simple. That's why I like you.
Fine.
Yeah. All right. You want to dive into this, sir?
Yeah. Ready for the questions? Let me read a question to you, Raghunath.
Okay, sure.
This was, I think it was 2 weeks ago. We did a Q&A, and someone had a question about like their dog passing away and how to prepare their dog for that time and all of that. Right? Remember that?
Yeah.
And so we got a question. It was kind of it's a bit cryptic in how it was.
Cryptic question.
Yeah. Because it's anonymous.
Okay.
Maybe it wasn't anonymous when we got it, but it came as a comment. and it had like a bunch of question marks and explanation points. It's kind of like the subject,
Okay.
and it was in relation to that answer that we gave. And I think it's a quote from Srila Prabhupada is essentially the question, but I think there's a question implicit in it.
Okay.
So here's what the quote that they gave from Prabhupada. It said, according to the Vedic system, a dog is not allowed to enter the house.
Oh, this is a
Because
person who's sort of like rallying around a Vedic system and put question marks and exclamation like, "Are you crazy?" That's what that means.
well,
Question
that
mark,
it would seem
exclamation
like
point.
that's what the question marks and explanation points would mean is like, why would you say such a thing? In other words, I think what they were
Just get the
saying,
hell out of the house right now.
I was gonna clean this up. I think what they're saying is, come on, here's Prabhupada talking about the Vedic system, and he's saying that there shouldn't be a dog in the house. You
Yeah.
get a question from people that are apparently practicing bhakti and taking some guidance from you. Why aren't you repeating this instruction and telling them get the dog out of the house? Why are you treating it as if it's a normal, acceptable kind of thing? So let me just finish this quote. It says, according to the Vedic system, a dog is not allowed to enter the house. Because of their uncleanliness, cats and dogs are not allowed within the apartment of a gentleman, but are so trained that they stand outside. The compassionate householder will supply food for the dogs and cats who eat outside and then go away. So I guess what they're saying is, here's the Vedic system. Why aren't you guys teaching the real Vedic system, I guess?
Because we don't live within this Vedic culture, right? You know, Eh, here's the deal. It's like you can take a little bit of this stuff, or you can live like I'm not sure anybody's going to be able to follow the Vedic system in the West so perfectly, and if we do, it's going to exclude the whole world. You know, so I feel like in order to really spread the holy name, which is the essence of what we do, recreating the Vedic system isn't the essence of what we do. Is chanting the holy name and stop finding fault with people, um, and serve the devotees. And I think we have to sort of take that into whatever degree we can.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think the answer is pretty simple. You can add. We're trying to encourage people to add the essence of Vedic culture to our life. Not that we all become perfect Brahmins. That's
So
all I
do
have to
you?
say. I just feel like I'll never have that high standard, and I think it's going to tie in with one of our next questions. Is I'm okay with that. I always try to raise my standard, but I'm okay if I don't have this high Vedic standard because I live a different life and I'm okay with that. I don't hate myself for it. And I feel that tension, but not in a way that I feel like I suck. I can't go forward. I just want to try something else. Oh, let me try Christianity. They're a little bit more forgiving. It's not like that. I
Hmm.
don't feel like that.
Yeah, I think I have pulled up an interesting letter from Prabhupada about this. Oh no, it's not a letter, it's kind of a testimony.
You're right.
Do you know Kanchabala Devi Dasi?
No.
She's a
Do you?
Prabhupada disciple.
I don't know her.
I think I
You
know
know
who
her?
she is. Yeah. And anyway, she shares this interesting kind of experience that she had with Srila Prabhupada. And she's describing that she was like 16 years old when she first started coming around and visiting temples and so on.
I love those
Okay.
16-year-olds, you know.
Just a clean
Where were their
slate.
parents? They're just like wandering out of the house, enter
Well,
a
no,
temple.
she lived at home. I'll
Okay.
read what she said. She said, when I first started going to the temple, I had just turned 16 and I was still in high school. I
Mhm.
was interested right away and wanted to know more and more about Swamiji, because that's how they called Srila Prabhupada, Swamiji at the time. I also wanted to tell Srila Prabhupada everything that I did. I told him that I was living at home far from the temple and that my mother wouldn't let me go to the temple, but that I had an altar and I offered prasadam and everything that I thought was beautiful to Krishna. Right? That was her
Sounds
standard.
sounds good.
So she says, I was into natural, earthy things. So I put cattails and moss and bark on my altar, right? Like so.
People do that. People do that.
But not standard. It's definitely not the Vedic standard.
No, but I've seen people do put beautiful rocks, But yeah, cattails, dried flowers.
Yeah. So, but I think the point that she's making is I didn't even know what I was doing. You generally you
Right.
don't put moss on the altar, and you know.
Although moss is beautiful. Yes. Go ahead.
So she continues, I was totally honest. She said, I wrote Srila Prabhupada a 6-page letter telling him everything I was doing. I wanted to be totally honest and lay it all out to him exactly. How I went to school, did my homework, chanted on the subway, and so forth.
Mm,
Now, you could say, what are you doing chanting on the subway? When you're chanting, you should be very, you sit up properly, you know, you focus yourself, but that's not how Prabhupada responded. He wrote back accepting everything I was doing, saying, my sincere blessings for you, for your nice prosecution of Krishna consciousness. Whatever you're doing at the present moment is approved by me. And I think on account of your becoming a sincere soul, Krishna is dictating from within, and you are doing things so nicely.
mm.
It was so encouraging, especially as the years went by, that as I gradually realized the standard of devotional service and deity worship in the temples that Prabhupada established. I remember one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, have you told us all the rules and regulations? Prabhupada said, if I told you everything, you'd faint. He clearly gave us he clearly gave us as much room he gave us much room to toddle along. Yeah. So
Interesting.
yeah, I think what you're saying is real important. It's like there's a boatload of Vedic standards. Prabhupada
Yeah.
didn't follow all of them, and he didn't teach all of them. But really, what the idea is you apply them as they are effective. You can bury someone in them and just completely like snuff
Yeah.
out their enthusiasm to
Yeah. Then you
or you
become
can
an institution of rules and regulations. You forget the point. Your heart's not turned on, and you just have a bunch of people policing your rules. It's not a beautiful environment. That's why I mean I like our community up here at Super Soul because I don't think we put off that vibe. Um, it makes it very sort of warm and homey, which is I think what people should do. They should have a home temple in their environment where you can have your standard of your home. And I think it's also very nice to if you want to feel like, sometimes I feel like, yeah, I need to raise my standard. Need to keep things a little cleaner. Need to change this habit or change that habit. But I feel like at not just at my age, but where I'm at in my spiritual life is I'm not kicking my dog out of my house to follow some Vedic code that has nothing to do with me and my family. And I don't feel like God hates me for it either. And I don't think it's going to be a disqualification for me going back to Krishna. And that's my statement.
Okay, it sounds a
That's
little
my
like you got a little chip on your shoulder there,
Well, I
right?
do have a chip because this
Okay.
person's writing with exclamation points and
All right.
questions.
I don't even want to read too much into exactly what they're saying. I just wanted to respond to it.
Right.
Um, and I think it's important that different people are on different levels, or not even different levels.
Different. I don't
They
buy
just
that
have,
different level thing either, too. I just
well, certainly they're on different levels of following Vedic standards. I don't think that's a problem to say that, right?
Well, no, but if you say different levels, generally with levels, there's a hierarchy of a level. And then
And
I
I
don't
think
think
there are hierarchies of that level, but
I think there's hierarchies of levels, but we're not interested in Vedic
that's
hierarchies
the
at the
point.
moment.
That's
We're
the point.
interested
We're,
in a
we're interested
spiritual
in Vedic
hierarchy.
hierarchies to
Right.
the degree that they facilitate the essence, which is Krishna consciousness.
Sure.
And sometimes trying to push someone to a higher level of Vedic standard isn't going to help them. It might even discourage them. And so, therefore you apply it. Prabhupada was applying that. He used to say, I get criticized by my god brothers. Because, for instance, in the monasteries in India, generally women don't live there, right? They live in their home with their parents until they get married. They don't move into a monastery.
Women don't move out of their home until they're married. That's like a Vedic tradition.
Yeah, but
Men don't
Prabhupada
move in with women. That's a Vedic tradition.
but Prabhupada said more or less exactly what you just said about the dog. He said, I can't send them away. They've come here. He saw that in this world, in the Western world, boys and girls are mixing together, you know, as it's the way that they live. I'm not going to try to change that. I'm going to adopt to that and bring Krishna consciousness into that in whatever way I can, you know?
By the way, I don't know how this happened, but a thumbs down came on the screen while you were speaking. So
Yeah.
it made it look like I was putting my thumbs down. I was
Oh.
not putting my thumbs down. I don't know how Zoom works now, but thumbs up and thumbs down come at their own accord. So I
Okay.
endorse what you're
Yeah.
saying. That wasn't a
Yeah.
thumbs down on
And
my
and what
part.
I was saying, I don't know what they're giving a thumbs down. You're giving a thumbs down to the fact that Prabhupada
No,
would
I don't.
allow women to live in the temple, or are you giving a thumb down to like ancient standards that have gone on for, that they just had a different, different people and different cultures live differently, you know?
Sure.
It's so any case, your point was important, Raghunath, that it's not that we live for Vedic standard. We apply Vedic standard because we live for Krishna consciousness.
All right, so this is going to tie into our next question.
All right.
Special K.
What you got?
By the way, before we get into our next question, tomorrow we have an interview day tomorrow with a very interesting, cool old friend of mine, Parthasarathi, who actually became Krishna conscious during the Iraq War,
Yeah.
and he's
Not
got
like
lots of
fighting in the Iraq War.
yeah, and now he does what's that called, Mara? No, what's that called? Rich Roll does
Ultra
pod-
marathon.
ultra running and things
A
like that.
triathlon kind of thing.
Yeah, but he does ultra running, like you're gonna run for 300 kilometers. But anyway, really interesting guy, a lot of interesting realizations. I think whenever you're around and faced with death on a regular basis, you get a lot of realizations, and especially immersed in army culture,
Yeah.
and the type of talk and the type of banter that goes on within that. So we somehow reconnected, and I said, "Oh, you'd be great for the show." So he's going to be on tomorrow, 8 a.m. For those who are listening on Zoom. We're looking forward to hearing from Parthasarathi Prabhu. Okay. All right.
What you got?
What's our next? Why don't you read that next question again? That next question. You want?
Okay. So this comes from Tamal Govinda Das.
Good name, huh? Tamal Govinda.
Yeah. My name is Tamal Govinda Das, 26 years old, and I come from Slovenia.
Slovenia. You know where Slovenia is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Where?
roughly.
Geo quiz.
It's kind of like, next to Croatia, I suppose, and
yep, you're on,
Ljubljana.
you're
And
on.
I mean, it used to be Yugoslavia.
Yep, you're pretty good. You're pretty good. You passed your geography quiz.
Well, I didn't tell you exactly where. I mean, I kind
Well,
of told
it
you.
is. It's north of Croatia,
Yeah.
and it used to be Yugoslavia.
Okay. So Tamal Govinda writes from Slovenia. He says, I met devotees when I was 20, and I was searching for some meaning in life.
Okay.
I quickly started coming to programs, started chanting, and after some years, when I finished my education in telecommunications, I decided to become a brahmachari for 1 year in Simhachalam, Germany. So he moved to this, it's kind of like a farm temple community, right? In Germany.
Yeah. Been there. Beautiful
I've
place.
been there too. But it's been a very long time since
Me
I've been
too.
there. I think like 93 or something like that. It was the last time. It was 94.
They have a big Nrsimhadev festival coming up there.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must be next.
If
Coming
you're
up
in
like
the
a week or two.
area, you should look that up.
Okay. In that year, many things happened. I was working hard on my sadhana, on my daily spiritual practices, and other spiritual practices. And soon I found out that temple life is not for me. Okay? But since I committed to 1 year, I kept pushing myself until I finally burned out, and I ran away to never come back.
Oh, it's just a story.
Whoa. Okay.
That happened. I've seen that happen a lot. People sort of just disappear, hop the fence.
It does.
Yeah, and they're sort of like sometimes a little humiliated and just don't want to show their face around.
Yeah. Okay.
Go on.
After coming back to Slovenia, I was traumatized by temples. I don't know if he means that he was traumatized by the time in Singhachalam or if he was traumatized by the other temples. A little hard to
Also,
tell.
I think traumatized is a very heavy word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But, well-
Traumatized. For how I'm interpreting that trauma, it's not like he was, punched out or something. I'm interpreting it as I was on this strict regimen of lifestyle, It was just
And
too
that
much
was,
for me, and therefore it just sort of like it
yeah,
was like a kryptonite for me. I wanted to stay away from it.
wanted to move on. Yeah. Okay, so he says, I was traumatized by temples, so I couldn't get myself to visit one for at least a year.
Yeah.
I was still occasionally meeting some devotee friends, but was mainly hanging out with friends from before I started practicing bhakti. So soon I stopped chanting and doing other Krishna conscious practices.
Sure.
After some time, I could manage to get myself to the temple and had a great time meeting devotees and being at lectures and kirtans and festivals. But outside of that, I don't chant, maybe a round or two every other day, and visit a temple maybe once or twice a month. And I feel okay with that. Now I
Mm.
study photography, which was always my passion, and work on different creative projects which I love. At first I felt bad because I couldn't do devotional stuff that I used to. But then after talking with some Swami and telling him about my traumatizing events at the temple, he told me not to worry and not to push myself doing anything that I don't feel I can do, and I really felt that. I drink. I occasionally smoke weed. I go to nightclubs with my friends. I'm dating. Now you probably judge me in your mind, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
okay.
I do.
Oh.
You're a mess.
But the fact is that there are many devotees my age that I personally know that are in their student years who are going through the same thing, but nobody knows about that, right?
Mm.
You think we're very naive to all going. We know a lot of people on all
We
different
know
kind of
we know a
levels.
lot of people. And we know a lot
Okay.
of people what they do. We're not
Yeah.
me and Kostuba are old. We've been around. We've seen this
Been
happen
around the block.
again and again.
But this is an interesting point, though. He says, because when we're at the temple with devotees, we all pretend to be pure and pakka, but we're actually not. All right. The
It's not that
fact
they
is,
pretend to be pure and pucka. You're at a temple. What are you going to do? Smoke weed at the temple? You know,
no, but I I
have a.
think,
I get it. There's a
yeah,
there, you feel duplicitous, but it's more mental than anything. I think it's nice to come to a temple, associate with people, and be on your A game. I think that's what we do here at the
but
farm. We try to get people once they cross the bridge. We're on our A game, and I think that's what community does. It sort of like lifts you when you're low. But
okay,
I
let's
understand. I don't think
well
I don't
let's
think
go on
people
to
are
say what
okay.
he's continues because he's going to go deeper into this. The fact is that we have to pretend like that because those are the huge standards and expectations to follow them. And when someone does not, he is labeled as fallen, and people tend to keep away, or some compassionate souls feel the need to help and save them by preaching.
He's saying compassionate in a sarcastic way,
Yeah, compassion. Well, yeah, with the air
but
quote.
it's sarcastic. It's like, oh, we got to be compassionate to these fallen souls. It's almost like
So-called compassion.
the devotee in the temple is exponentially much higher than you, and you are okay. I see where this guy's going with this.
Okay.
I get it a lot. You want to
Okay,
keep
now you're
reading?
flipping a little bit over the other side. Okay. You're seeing both sides of this, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, but I'm okay where I am. I really,
Okay.
I really do.
Right. Now he's digging his heels in. Okay.
Um, okay, well, thank you, but I'm okay where I am. I really deeply appreciate that people are concerned with others' spiritual life and sincerely want to help, but I am where I am and I cannot fake my way to somewhere where I am not. And I think this society does not understand that. There's this huge gap from how normal people live and how devotees do. This is significant, I think.
I
And I
think it
think
is.
that the problem is that there's no level in between those two. So then people like me are lost, not belonging anywhere.
Mm, I get it.
That's important observation, I think. I love Krishna. I love devotees. I really love to chant and sing in the kirtans. I love to read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. But right now, I don't want to commit to all those high standards of regularity. And for this society, that's not acceptable. Even if you say it is, it's not.
It is.
It's
It
not.
is. It is.
You know, and we can get into this more too, but I think that
I mean, I'm looking at everybody on our message board right now. You think I'm going to go through? Okay, Professor Snooky, I'm going through your house. What are these carmy like cornflakes you got in your cabinet? I'm throwing those out. You got a dog. I'm getting rid of him, kicking him out of here. Well, what the heck is going on here, Professor Snooky? No, it's like no
No,
one's like that
well,
anymore.
well, no, no,
I
not
don't
no
feel
one's like that. People are like that. There
the
are people.
masses are not like that. The masses are
Well,
trying to add Krishna to their life and not micromanage people's spiritual life.
maybe it's
It's
different in
not
Slovenia.
our business to
Could it
micro
be?
my it's not our business to micromanage other people's
No,
lives.
but that's his point. He's saying
It,
that that's what I get when I go to the temple. I get that kind of attitude.
and guess what you get when you come to the temple generally? You get a
What?
bunch of new devotees, like he was. You get a bunch of new devotees who all of a sudden they go from their regular life and now they think they are some like Paramahamsa and they're going out doing all the preaching. So the types of people you meet generally at these temples are the preachers who are like 1 year into bhakti and they feel very just like any
Okay.
fanatic. And
Yeah.
so we've had fanatics be our mouthpiece for what we're representing. You
All
and
right.
me have been
Let me
okay.
respond to that.
Okay.
I think there's truth in what you're saying, but sometimes it seems also that it's kind of like the less sensitive people that hang on and take these leadership positions and that go on forever. I mean, we see that too, don't we?
You see that
Sometimes it's the last ones who are like maybe they are the most austere, or maybe they're not even, maybe they're just pretending to be.
maybe they just need a place to live.
Maybe they just can't conceive of any other lifestyle, and they're there, and there's hardly anyone around them because their attitude doesn't really attract anyone, and they have. I think that exists as well. I think you get it from senior
Sure.
people as well.
Sure.
Okay.
I think we have to find people who are mature that get it. And I think I really love the Wisdom of Sages community. I love our super
Well,
soul
he's gonna have something
community.
to say about that too, Raghunath.
I've,
So
I've,
hold on.
what's that?
He's gonna have something to say about wisdom and sages too,
All right, let's go.
because
Hold on.
he's saying
I gotta wrestle this guy.
Turin come in on this side, weighing in at. Okay. So he says, even if you say, he's saying that to be me and who I am is not acceptable in this society. Even if you're going to tell me it is, I'm telling you it's not. My point is, you know what? In some places it is, in some places it's not. Like there's different moods, and even in the
There's
same
different
city, you can find two
Yeah.
temples with very different moods.
Yeah, there's different communities.
And maybe in Slovenia you don't get that. I don't know. I don't know anything about Slovenia. Okay,
You know where it is.
that much I know.
Pretty
I
good.
don't know
It's
about
pretty
the
good.
temple moods. He says there's always that subtle voice in the background saying we expect you to come to our level, but I don't want to.
I could just see some like mean brahmachari looking down upon him.
I know it. I felt that myself. He says, but I don't want to. I want to go through my spiritual life at my pace. I feel like there's no place for me in the society. In temples, people with high standards look down on me. With non-devotees, I keep my spirituality to myself because I would be again labeled as weird otherwise. So he's like saying, I'm getting it from both ends here. You know, maybe just the world is like judgmental. You know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. It's not like the material world is not judgmental as well.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
he-
you
Sure.
get yelled at if you're not boycotting Israel or boycotting Palestine. You're putting up a black square on your Instagram. Everybody's trying to judge you and cancel you. It's not just
It's a
the
tough
Hare
world.
Krishna
It's a hard
movement.
world.
It's a
Okay.
judgmental world.
It's a judgmental world. Okay, now he says this, Raghunath. Even in your podcast, I
Uh-oh,
sense.
what?
Well, Raghunath's ornery today. You got to. Even on your
Coming after, I think he's coming after you, not me.
I think he's talking about Mara here when he says this.
Maybe.
He says, even in your podcast, I sense a subtle pushing that you want us to have all pucka top class standards. Mara, enough. Okay.
Sorry.
Everybody should be knitting on a regular basis, you fabric people purchasing all your clothing in the stores without knitting your own.
Okay, but he's feeling this vibe even coming from wisdom. I mean, we have drag queens. We have recovery addicts. We welcome them all, but still.
Okay.
feeling that energy.
I've had enough of this question. We know let's dive into this.
It's almost done. Hold it. It's almost done. I've had enough
And
of
I
this
have to go to
question.
the bathroom too. What do you do when you have to go to the bathroom during the podcast? We can't freeze it. It's live. I'm just gonna have to leave.
That's why you're hungry today.
That
Okay.
could be it.
It's almost done. I'll read it right through now. He says, I understand and deeply appreciate that you want to help and save us from material energy, but I don't want it. And feeling that really turns me off. I don't know. Maybe ISKCON is just not a place for me, and I would need to look for some other communities, but I feel sad about it. It would be nice if there would be some place in this society for us fallen people where we can sing in kirtan and listen about Krishna without always having that subtle pushing of needing to improve and be pure.
Sure.
Then I'm forced to pretend I'm pure and lie that I follow sadhana, but deep down, excuse me, but deep down I feel disgusted that I have to do that. I want to be myself right where I am, and I want to be accepted for who I am and where I am. Maybe I ask too much, but that is just how I feel, and I wanted to share that with you guys because I really love you. Your podcast was there for me in the hardest times, and even now, when I'm swimming in the material ocean, I still listen to it occasionally. I would really like to hear your thoughts on these topics. Thank you very much. I love you.
I'm gonna jump in first, and then I'm gonna
All
run to the bathroom. Okay.
Okay.
Don't take this personally. Don't take it personally. It's
Okay.
an emergency. First
Just
of
don't
all,
don't bring your cell phone into the bathroom.
no, I won't.
Okay.
I'll never get out. I'll
That's
never
smart.
First of all, I hear you, and I know what that tension is.
Okay.
It's not necessarily bad, and I think when you hear it from us, you will feel a tension, and I think that's natural in any community because the community is always trying to upgrade. But I think that tension is a healthy tension. I think
Okay.
as you mature in bhakti, there's no more condemnation, or you're not mature. We don't condemn. We do discern. We have to discern. Just like I'm a parent, I have to discern like where are my kids going out tonight? Who's going to be at the party you're going to be at? We want to keep that discernment, but we don't believe in condemnation. I know in my own life, I don't condemn good friends who are doing horrible things. I just don't. I just have to discern if if I want that in my life. So I think it's important. I think to not condemn. I think that's something we have to work towards practicing. And I think people have they have a whole plethora of great qualities, even if they're not following a principle. And I think our bhakti community has to like mature like that. And I think that also a lot of the things, the words we hear on a regular basis are from people who have almost like a fanatic mentality. But I feel like if you're happy where you're at, then don't sweat it. Be happy where you're at, but expect attention always to be there. And you don't have to be necessarily duplicitous. You can just be happy where you're at and come together and serve the devotees. And one thing I find, and I want to put this out there because it's very important, if that community is not serving your bhakti, if you just feel like I'm hated, I'm condemned, there's two things. First, check your own head. Do you have some guilt you're carrying around? And if you do, get over your guilt because you're going to take that into other places where you feel less than. You'll take that everywhere. You'll think that everybody's out to get you. You're looking to be offended. But if it's actually the community just doesn't encourage your God consciousness and you feel just shamed, make your own community. Make your own community. And for people who are struggling with any institution, guess what? You don't need it. You can you can create your own little community. And that means you get people together and you sing. And when you come together, you do keep a high standard, like the temple has a high standard. That's okay. You come together and you say, hey, let's try not to criticize. Let's not try not to find fault. Let's try not to condemn people. Let's try to serve each other. And once a week on Friday nights, instead of going to a pub or something, you get together and you read the Bhagavad Gita. You sing something. Somebody cooks prasad. You have a potluck, whatever it is. But we should understand the whole throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's just as bad as the other fanatic who's telling you better be Hare Krishna right now. You better follow all these principles. Throwing it all out is also a type of fanaticism. So we have to figure out how we can integrate it into our life where we're rising up higher. And guess what? Life is very short. Sometimes Krishna might accelerate our bhakti. We might get some type of sickness, chronic disease, and we want to be there. We want to sort of be in the mix with devotees in our life. And you may want to extend your hand to other people who are like-minded, who want to add Krishna to their life, because we need community. Community is a necessity for us just having a peaceful, healthy life. People want community. We're social beings. So I think it's important that if we don't jive with a particular community, we create our own community, and you learn to be very sort of tolerant with others, and maybe and if you're happy with yourself, be happy with yourself. That's okay to be happy with yourself, but expect there to be a little bit of tension. That's in any community that wants to sort of upgrade a little, and find those devotees who you jive with and hang out with them. Stuba, I'm passing the baton to you. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Go with this. It was a good one.
Okay, thank you, Regan. Yeah, so we've been kind of laughing and joking and so on, but it's an important question, and I appreciate Tamal Govinda's honesty. Now he's asking us our thoughts on his long question, and I can't give like I don't know you, I don't know the circumstances and what you're going through there, so it's like I can only speak in generalities. Um, you're bringing up some really important points. I think when you said this, you said there's this huge gap from how normal people live and how devotees do. That's a fact. It really is. The standards, the life standards are very different. There's a reason for that, but it's I almost feel like in this world we have to expect that when people come to any kind of spiritual culture or really any kind of movement of self-improvement, that you're going to find a gradation of how people relate to it. You're going to find people that relate to it in very problematic or simplistic ways, and then people that have a very refined understanding of it, a very mature understanding of it. And every gradation in between those two you're going to find. And in Bhakti, those are kind of laid out as Kanishta, is like the real beginner. And then Madhyam is kind of the middle person. They've developed a better acumen for kind of appreciating people where they're at and relating to them accordingly. And then there's the Uttama, who kind of sees no distinctions, right? They're kind of just like, they're not trying to prove anyone. So that's going to always be there. I think the part of me is kind of responding to some of what, in a way, Raghunath kind of responded to it from a few different angles. But I think there is something to kind of that stoic point of view, where it's kind of like the world is what it is. It's my duty not to sit here and complain about it. I can improve it to whatever extent I can, and then I accept it and I make the best of it. I think just reading your whole letter, I'm wondering if a little bit of that stoicism might be important for you, Tarun Govinda, to just say, there's going to be people that are immature. It sounds like you had a Swami there
Tamal Govinda.
I'm sorry, Tamal Govinda. It sounds like you had a Swami there that was quite open to you and quite understanding. There's going to be people that do understand you and do accept you where you are. And, with your stoic viewpoint, you could say, and there's going to be people that don't. And whether they do or don't, that's really not so much my business. My business is connecting to Krishna. I'm moving at the pace that I'm moving at. If they have a problem with that, I suppose that's their problem. It's not my problem. I don't need to get all worked up about that. So I think that could be healthy. Now, for all I know, you actually may have been through some really traumatic treatment, or just some really, I don't know if you've been exposed to some really callous, fanaticism. Or if just you might have an issue with guilt, and people are just responding in very natural and respectful and considerate ways, and you're interpreting that as they're looking down on me, they're condescending, and it's uncomfortable. I have no idea, right? But what Raghunath said was important. I think that there has to be some tension in society. We don't grow without a little tension. So I would say that it would be wise to want my community, want my friends, want those that are near to me to accept me for who I am. Yes, that's important. but also to kind of that their association, their words and their association is encouraging me to always be moving forward. That's important too. You know, this process of bhakti, for it to really transform one, it requires you know, this some real determination, you know, to leave behind things that are problematic and embrace those things which are helpful. You know, he mentioned, he said, you know, I drink, I occasionally smoke weed, I go out to nightclubs with my friends, I'm dating. Now you probably judge me in your mind for that. Well, how do you know that I judge you in my mind for that? Or do you interpret like like for instance, in my mind, that doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're low or sinful. From a yogi's perspective, it just makes me think, well, drinking and smoking weed and going out to nightclubs and casual sex, these things cloud one's, they make it more difficult for one to be a yogi. That's
Correct.
not judgmental, that's just scientific. And, but it doesn't make me think you're bad. I've done all those things, you know, and I have friends that do those things. And I love sitting down with them in kirtan, and I'm not going to sit there and start harping on them to change their lifestyle, you know. So it's hard for me to say whether they've got something to learn, you've got something to learn, or everybody's got something to learn, you know.
Maybe everybody's got something to learn.
It's probably yeah, it's probably that last one. We probably all have something to learn, you know. I was going to read in the Wisdom of Sages, in our, you know, we have a vision statement and a mission statement, and we have a statement of our core values.
Do we?
Raghunath.
What is it?
And you know, and there's a balance in the core. We kind of adopted this from the Bhakti Center's core values, but there's three core values. One of them is deeply rooted, right? This is with faith and love in the Bhakti tradition of Sri Chaitanya as taught. We want our podcast, we want our community to be deeply rooted with faith and love in the Bhakti tradition of Sri Chaitanya as taught and exemplified by Srila Prabhupada. Okay, that's like that kind of grounded conservative side. But then kind of balancing that out, we have another core value called branching out, which is through a culture of inclusion. We see every soul as important in Krishna's service and reach out with non-judgmental compassion and the thoughtfulness to make the message of bhakti relevant and accessible. So we're trying. Maybe we could do better. But at the same time, maybe you want to maybe you think our podcast should just be anemic of all encouragement to improve. You know, so it's there's always a balance. And as Raghunath's saying, maybe you need to find your community. Maybe you need to, and maybe it's hard to find. So those are just a big, you asked what my thoughts are. Those are just like a whole big collection of thoughts, you know, but deep down, you know, I really wish you the best, Tarun Govinda, Tamal Govinda.
Tamal Govinda. Well, we know Kishori Priya listens to our show and her husband. We know, you know who Siddheshwari is there too.
They're in Slovenia? Yeah. We know some really great people from Croatia that are very accepting and so on, right?
Hop the border.
It's hop the border.
Hang out with road rage.
I mean, he's road rage and we accept him.
He will get out of that car, put his hands in the air, all 6'5"
you know,
of them, and start screaming.
Maybe Tamal Govinda could come to
Italy.
To Italy. Try to come. Maybe, you know, get in touch with us. We'll do what we can to try to make it possible. And
yeah, we'll shame your butt right out of there. Just kidding. Just kidding. We'll embrace you. You know what I was thinking though too? It's like we want. We are devotees. We think of ourselves as fallen. He was using fallen as almost like a put down, but it's like, yeah, that's how advanced devotees think of themselves. They don't think everyone else is fallen. We think, yeah, I'm sort of fallen. I'm very fallen.
Yeah.
You know, and the whole there is always a tension of how can I go higher? How can I go higher? Right. We're like we've been reading the last few days of all the the higher beings are offering prayers, but then there's another higher being that offers
Right.
almost a more refined prayer.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's okay to all feel fallen. That's part of our culture. But in Western culture, that feeling of fallenness has to do with a lot of self-hate, and therefore it can be a little triggering to
Right.
us if we're suffering from a lack of self-worth.
Right. And you know, Tarun Govinda also kind of, I think,
Tamal
nicely.
Govinda.
Sorry, why do I keep doing that?
Tamal
Tamal
Govinda.
Govinda.
Because Tarun
Tamal Govinda.
Govinda is
He
cool
kind of
name.
nicely articulated this, something that's there in most spiritual communities to some degree or another,
Mm.
where there's duplicity. Like, in other words, we're pretending that we're something that we're not, and that's not healthy.
And here's the deal, Kostub.
Yeah.
It's not going to go away.
It's
You can
not going.
find a
That's my
community
point.
where
That's the stoicism,
there's
right?
always
That's
going to be a
yeah,
faker. There's always
yeah.
going to be a cheater. It's just like if these people commit crimes in the Catholic Church or any type of church or institution, horrible crimes.
Okay.
They're not going to go away. Those crimes.
That's the world we live in.
We live in a crazy world.
Yeah.
There'll always be a wolf in sheep's clothing. And just,
Or sometimes the sheep are just a little wolfish.
Or sometimes there's a sheep that's a wolfish that'll just snap at you and butt you with his horns. Yeah. So we have to be a little bit aware. We have to have a little bit of discernment. We have to do our due diligence. We have to, as best we can.
Yeah.
And if they're really problematic people, keep them out of your life. I do. There's certain people that I know they're like that, and whenever I see them, I don't even talk to them. And you know what I mean? And it's even.
But still, he wants to go to the kirtan. He wants to, so that's there.
Even that is discernment. Like even the people that are troublemakers, I don't condemn them. I just don't want them close to me, because if they're real troublemakers, we have to hand select people we want in our life. We're kind to all,
Yeah.
And you can do that. A lot of people get turned off by some random temple somewhere in the world. Guess what? Make your own temple.
It's not easy to do that.
Little, you know what it is? It is easy. It's called a dinner party.
Okay.
I'm making rice and dal. Come on over.
All right. Very good.
Right?
I like that, Rick. Yeah. All right. You ready for the next question? We got one more today.
Yeah.
Are you reading it to me, or am I reading it to you? Or...
You're reading. You're doing all the reading today.
Okay.
Like
this
my
one comes from
like my Easter
south of the border. What's that?
I was like, you like my new Youth of Today shirt?
Stand up. Let me see it.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. That's an old school design, right? That's been around.
It's a classic.
It's a classic.
It was originally bootlegged.
We don't have a lot of time here for this last question.
Okay.
That was, we call a squirrel. Okay, this has come from Chapuji.
Chapu, we love her.
Writing from Ecuador/Venezuela. And this is a question from a person that's in her sage group. We have 2 Spanish-speaking sage groups.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Okay, so she writes, Haribol Familia, buenos dias. Our sage group has a special member, Pamela from Argentina. New to Bhakti, she already has deep realizations and a beautiful connection to the practice. She chants, reads scriptures, and has created a beautiful altar for meditation and offerings. Recently, her husband had a minor surgery. Pamela shared how she served him with unconditional love and patience, letting go of arguments, which was a big step for her.
That's huge.
Okay. However, she has a question for both of you. Here's the question. How can I support someone who doesn't share my beliefs? Every word I had was based on scripture, and the music I wanted to share were mantras, but they don't resonate with him. Muchas gracias. The sage groups are truly making a difference. All right, so I think this is a common question, right, Raghunath? It's like, my spouse is not exactly into what I'm into. They don't want to hear the kirtan that I'm playing. What do you, they don't want to hear from these scriptures. They don't mean anything to them.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to support them? How am I supposed to help someone that I'm living so closely, intimately with?
First of all, you got to see if it's not our job necessarily to make our partner devotees, but I think people are a spiritual path. They want to share similar
Yeah.
joys with them in their life. It always boils down to be the best example of what a devotee is. And if you are, guess what? That person loves you, and
Then they
therefore
love a
that person
devotee.
will make advancement. That person makes advancement because they love you and they serve you. How do we make advancement? By loving and serving devotees. Boom. That's how we make advancement.
It
It's
all
that
fits
simple.
together.
It all fits together perfectly. Be a
Okay.
great example. Make yourself into such a kind-hearted Vaishnavi or Vaishnava. And people, it's very attractive, and people want to give love. Now, we're in relationships with people who are serving us anyway. So really, it's up to you. That's one way. And then you could find some Venn diagram where there is some common denominator. For example, Lori Pag took her husband to Italy. Yep. And he was like, well, I'm Italian. I'll go. I want to support my wife. Therefore, he wants to support his wife. Next thing you know, the guy's got a kurta on. It's not
Roll
about
the
a
case.
kurta. Kurta doesn't make him spiritual. But he just started in the same way you and I got into kirtan. We got into we got into some maybe bhakti for perhaps some trite reason, like, hey, there's free vegetarian food. Let's go. And then all of a sudden, our senses get purified by prasad. Maybe they like to eat, cook and offer food, right? Maybe they like to eat. Everybody likes to eat, right? So
Yeah.
cook prasad with love, offer it with love, and offer them the prasad. If they don't like kirtan, there's so many other senses that we could do. You know, another thing I do is Nepal. Nepal is like such a, it's sort of like, it's
napalm.
not
I was like, what? Napalm?
no, Nepal is like an easy in for a person that's not into bhakti because it's just breathtaking. And the Himalayas are, famously gorgeous. And we have satsang every day. So you just have to know the dose to give a person.
Nice.
But, as devotees, we do understand that there are higher standards that we want to climb to and that people want to climb to. And like you were saying about Tamal Govinda, there's no judgment that you're drinking or going to the club, but we've also drank. We've also gone to clubs, and we also know what the consciousness of drinking gives you. And so therefore there is compassion in the heart that we want to give to other people, because drinking for a lot of people can ruin their life. For some people, it just sort of diverts their life and covers up some pain. So, and there is more refined pleasure. And so when you really get that, you want to give it to someone, not in a judgmental way, but in a way that will upgrade their life. And of course, in this case, upgrade your relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Raghunath. Thank you for that. The question is, how can I support someone who doesn't share my beliefs? I think if you don't share any beliefs, you wouldn't be together.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense.
Right. But we all have these minds that are programmed with certain taste and I guess you could say like proclivities. There's certain things that our mind easily accepts, and certain things that our mind is saying, I don't know about that. And that's a lot of that is just based on the packaging, the external packaging. But my guess is that to some degree, she and her spouse, they do appreciate the same things. But she may be saying, here, appreciate it in the form of this scripture, like the Bhagavad Gita. And in his mind, he may be saying, even hearing that word is just alien to me, and it's got ideas that are alien to me, reincarnation and so on and so forth. I don't buy into that. And it's also got standards and practices like not eating meat or whatever it may be. And so a wall starts to be built up. That's not for me. All that stuff's not for me. But there's stuff in there that is for him. And I think you know that. And when he sees that this tradition is bringing that out in you, like the love and that you're describing, and the unconditional love and service that you were sharing, when he sees this person's really selfless, they're really kind, they're really even-minded, no matter what happens in life, they've got a clear, wise view of it, they're kind to everyone, et cetera, et cetera. The more that he feels that, you don't have to push the externals on him, but just saying, this is why I practice this. I want to be a better person. I want to be closer to God. I want to perceive God more. And I'm finding it in this tradition. He probably doesn't have a problem with you finding that, but the packaging seems alienating to him.
Mm.
And so you don't necessarily have to try to, you can try, but if you find that you're not being successful at getting him over the hurdle of the packaging, then you just have to deliver the essence without the package in your daily dealings. Try to think of that. We've been talking about this a lot this week, try to focus not on the details, the external superficial details, but on the essence. And if that essence is something that he relates to, and if he sees that essence is rising in you through this practice, then it'll become easier. And one thing similar to what you were saying, what we used to do at the Bhakti Center, and I was just speaking to someone at the Bhakti Center about this, is that I think we should do combined Bhakti Center, Wisdom of the Sages. We used to do picnics in the summer in the parks in New York.
Ooh, yeah, let's do it upstate.
Well, okay, but we could do it here too in the city with the Bhakti Center. Probably harder for the people of the Bhakti Center.
They can get out a little.
But we can do both. But those are an opportunity where we didn't push anything. We didn't push kirtan. We didn't push philosophy. We just all got together. We shared prasadam. That's something that everyone can appreciate. And we relaxed with each other. And I think a lot of people that came to the Bhakti Center that were into it but had spouses or boyfriends or girlfriends that it was foreign to, they could bring them there. And they really got the impression, oh, these are normal, intelligent, nice people. It was just so relaxed like that, and nothing, none of the external kind of triggering things were there.
Mm.
And then they really opened up. So sometimes it's just giving them that experience. Like you're saying, I think for the chief, Italy was something like that. Okay, this is pretty nice. I can,
With these guys are pretty cool.
yeah, I had a picture that it was something else, but these are normal people, and they got a lot of interesting stuff to share. If we can find those kind of circumstance, those kinds of, if we can create those kind of forums, and like you're saying, it could just be a dinner party, whatever. Then sometimes those hesitations, those walls of hesitation, they'll collapse more easily than we imagine.
I like that. Okay, I think that's our time today, sir.
All right, Raghu.
All right. Well,
There's
good.
the
So
music.
see you tomorrow, everybody. 8 a.m. for me and Parthasarthi. Talk about Krishna conscious war stories. What the heck? This is gonna be.
He was a sniper.
I tell you.
It's hard job.
Serious stuff. And
Yeah.
try to practice bhakti is such a. Yeah. Life takes us in weird twists. Join me tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Thanks everybody for joining us. If you're local, Jai Yoga tonight at 7 p.m. for Kirtan. And we're back on Monday. Back on Monday at 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Next week's the party. We're having a party. Wisdom of the Sages at Super Soul Farm. Check us out. It's I think there may be a space left. I'm not positive. Actually, no, we have left our Airstream.
Oh, the Airstream.
The Airstream is going to go into biz.
Probably the only place the dog hasn't been, too.
No, there's no dogs in the Yogi house, Baba.
On the Yogi House, that's true.
We might have to put Kastub in the Airstream if nobody rents it out. Or else you're
You
getting.
just throw me around.
We're going to throw you on the trampoline. You can camp on the trampoline. That's good.
Do you guys stay out on the trampoline when you go outside?
No, we stay on the cots on the yoga deck.
Yoga deck.
You know that yoga deck by the pond?
Yoga. Oh, up there. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, on cots, huh? Interesting.
On cots. Cots are great. Nice. You should do it. Let's camp out, you and me, buddy.
It's a possibility.
I think we should have a wrestling match.
I'm not interested in wrestling matches. Anything too physically intimate with you, Raghunath. It's just.